Get ready to dive into the magical world of T.F. Burke, a rising star in young adult fantasy books. Best known for her captivating Heart of the World series, Burke weaves tales filled with gripping adventures, intricate characters, and breathtaking realms. Whether you're a fan of sword clashing battles, forbidden magic, or heart pounding twists, her books are sure to leave you spellbound. Join us today on Jolene's Books and Writers Talk podcast, which is sponsored by Southern Dragon Publishing, as we chat with T.F. Burke about her writing journey, creative process, and what's next for Heart of the World Saga. Find her at tfburkeauthor.com and across social media platforms. For other authors out there who would like to participate in our podcast, please visit southerndragonpublishing.com, fill out the application, schedule your Zoom session, and we will get you started. In the meantime, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our podcast and our other social media pages. And now for
I
Miss
am
Burke.
very happy to be here. I am T.F. Burke, Tammy, but my pen name is T.F. So I had heard that boys might not read your book if they think that the book's written by a girl. So I don't really hide my gender because it's really easy to find out by going on my webpage. But I do the Heart of the World series. So the first book is out. It's my debut novel. It is Fairies Don't Lie. And I'm working very hard on book 2, which is Fairies Don't Forgive, which is going to be out in February. The premise of the book is there's a 16-year-old protagonist. She is a trouble magnet. She has a lot of fairy friends. So the 16-year-old that doesn't get along with the other villagers because they're kind of scared of her meets this 17-year-old Pegasus flyer. She just wants to really impress him. She did not know that it might cost an entire world. And there's a lot of fairy creatures in it, and there's Pegasus riders, and there's wyverns, and there's a bunch of fairy creatures. Some of it is based on the research that I do for fairy lore. I have a newsletter that goes out, and I deep dive different kind of fairy creatures like wyverns. I found out a little snippet of a story with wyverns that Alice in Wonderland was brilling, was actually kind of snatched from something that was older from, I think it was the 16th century, but I'm still doing that research. I got interrupted with the research, but it's going to be on the newsletter. I've done mermaids, I've done brownies and red caps. I love digging into fairy lore because almost every single place in the world, they have fairies, and I find that fascinating. So a lot of fairy creatures, and I do come up with some of my own. I have heebles. These heebles are, think, land piranha, and they are about the size of a gourd. They have no eyes, no nose. They have just a long mouth, sharp teeth, and they walk around on these very skinny chicken legs. And you have one, it's not so bad. You can squish it, kick it, but they don't usually attack in ones and twos. They attack in swarms. If they attack in swarms, they can take a person down to their bones in a matter of minutes. So they're not very nice. There's an antagonist, the Boggleman, that's in there too. And he has this very nasty cloak that he wears that eats fairies. Anya doesn't like when her fairy friends get eaten, but there's romance in it. There's adventure. There's a lot of themes of belonging. One of the things I feel very passionate about is with young people. This is a YA. It's a young adult fantasy, epic fantasy, Noble Bright. I found out that it's also Noble Bright. Is that no matter whether you feel like you belong to a group or not, you always belong to yourself, and you are always enough, just the way that you are. And if you leave that space to be able to go out and find more people, the people that are going to celebrate you, that's what you want to do. I want to get that message across, because I think a lot of times young people end up getting a whole lot of get off my lawn, and they get the short end of the stick. I really feel for them. I love reading YA anyway, so it's my jam.
That was your debut novel. I've already read that, and I was looking forward because you left us on a little bit of a cliffhanger there at the end. So that we have to buy book two now. So, and it's going to be out in February.
Yes, that is very. Anya and Matthias have a lot more adventures coming up in book two, and more different kinds of fairy creatures. And oh, there's a lot of bad stuff that happens, but there's a lot of good stuff happens too. But there's one of the fairy creatures that you see a lot more. You saw it a little bit in book one are my whisperers. Now they're a fairy type that I created. They are a kind of a malicious, gossip mongering kind of a fairy where you can summon it from a bowl of water with a candle on it, and it's a very smoky kind of candle. And there'll be a lot more of them. And they can do some intriguing things, but I don't want to spoil it too much.
Okay. No, that's good. Keep us dancing on the end. Do you have any, it's maybe too early, but do you have any fan art that is being created for your particular world yet?
I have some pieces that I've created myself because I also illustrate.
Ooh.
And I also do pieces too that I have because I'm looking in the near-ish future of doing a special edition lie, and I want it to be illustrated. So there'll be some illustrations in there to show some of the creatures and hopefully some of the characters too.
Do that through Ingram Sparks, get that published that way, or do you have a publisher?
For the special edition,
Uh-huh.
if it's special edition one, I'm researching it right now. There is a place called Inkfluence that has these gorgeous books, you know, with the embossed with the gold, with the sprayed edges that you can do patterns with the fancy end papers.
Mm-hmm.
They're gorgeous books. So it might be through that. My book currently, it is through Ingram Sparks. So libraries and bookstores can order it. I have my book actually in a couple of different bookstores, including the oldest independent bookstore in America, which is in my hometown. And I did a book signing there too. It's also available at Drafted Digital. So the book is wide. You can get it a whole bunch of different places. You can actually go to your local Walmart and order it if you want. But the special edition, I'm not sure where I'm going to order it from yet, but I want it to be one of those really pretty, fancy books.
Right. Wondering if you have to get the book formatted and embossed and printed, and then you give the hard copies over to the company to do the spraying part, or do they print and bind and spray all together?
Those are excellent questions. Unfortunately, I cannot give you that answer because I'm learning it as I go myself too. I just know that I'm going to be doing a Kickstarter and this is the stuff that I want. Now I have to figure out how to put legs underneath it. But that's a grand adventure, isn't it?
Yes, yes. It'd be so exciting, especially that's for me in the future. I'm going to look for that. And as an author, you're self-published. Have you ever wanted to be traditionally published, or are you embracing the whole indie author thing?
I had originally wanted to do traditional, and I did a lot of submitting my book when it was in an earlier form. I did a whole lot of revamping it after taking classes with New York Times bestseller David Farland. I took his EPIC course and I took his 318R course. I had a meeting with an agent for a Skip Wee event, and I got to sit down 4 hours with this event. It was me and 4 other writers. It was amazing. So we submitted a lot of material, and she was going to be picking up some of the people that she met with. She told me that she loved my characters, absolutely loved my characters. She loved the emotion on the page. She wrote on the very top of my paperwork, Harry Potter. I'm not sure what she meant by that, but it was Harry Potter on there. And she also told me that my story structure was broken. I was like, ow, ouch, ouch. I'll take my little bruisey self back home. And I took a couple of days and was like, you know what? She's right, which is why I found a mentor to be able to help me with that part and revamped it. And I was thinking about resubmitting it traditionally. And the more that I thought about it and seeing other people that are publishing their own books, self-publishing it has made such inroads. You can do so much. My cover designer, she's from Romania. She does beautiful work. I get to market it all. I get to keep more of the profits. So I'm embracing this indie. I have my own publishing company. Now, currently my publishing company has one author in their stable, which is me, but it's mine and it's Sylvan Sword Press. So I love the name to it. It's, I did all the legal stuff for it. I'm really enjoying doing the indie route. It's an adventure every single day.
That's great. That's the way a lot of indie authors feels, including myself. Being as a YA author, there are certain things that you have to be aware of, especially in good old Florida, because our governor is banning books left and right. Anything that has to do with other or belonging, it seems to me, is what they're concentrating on. And
we have a Democrat as our governor. Now, I live in the center of the state. So the big cities, which are very liberal, are on the outside, and it's more red on the center. So we're a very purple state. There is pockets where they don't like the idea of belonging. You have to behave in a certain way. I guess it's one where it's if you're not so much in people's faces, nothing gets said pretty much. Now, in my story, I think that it's really important that people know that they're human. We're all human beings. We all bleed red. Our hearts beat, we cry, we feel emotions. And I don't want to leave anybody out in the dust with my stories. Now, I have some diversity in my books because I do want people to see their own faces in the story, but I haven't gone out super wide with it just because this story doesn't have it. And I don't want to have a token diverse character because that does not feel authentic to me. I know that you have to be careful when it comes to the spice level with YA. That can get you banned too. It's like Sarah J. Maas. I believe she has some banned books there in Florida, and I love her stories. I have all of her books. My story is sweet. It has a very low. There's a couple of kisses. His first kiss. There's some hand holding, so it's sweet. Yeah, I think I'm in the parameters. Who knows exactly where the story will go in the later books because there's 7 books altogether. So there's Don't Lie, Don't Forgive, Don't Hide, Don't Love. That's a big one. Don't love. It's don't beg, don't scheme, and don't die. So that's all, fairies don't. I know a lot of the stuff that's happening in the story, but when I plot, have the biggest things and I write to those goalposts, I don't plot every single little flower that's on the path. And sometimes the story does take me in new and different ways than I thought, but it's something to be cognizant of. It's a tightrope, or at least for myself, I don't want to dismiss anybody. We live in interesting times, don't we?
I just asked that question, especially of authors who write for younger audiences, because it hurts me physically to have books banned from anywhere, school, libraries, public, whatever. People should read what they would like to read. Yes, the parents should take an interest in what their children are reading, but if they're reading, woohoo, good for them. To the next fun question, especially recently with NaNoWriMo announcing their AI policy of acceptance. How would you feel, or how do you feel? Would you utilize AI for anything, or have you used it in the past for any of your writing?
AI, I am smack in the middle with that. I use a cover designer for my covers. They are not generated AI at all. And I wanted to make sure that they were not with AI. The illustrations that I will have in the fancy edition are done by artists. There is no AI on that. There are certain things I really want to make sure that I am giving work to artists. I think that's really important. Now, with saying that, have I ever used AI? Yes, I use AI. I use AI for ideation. On a typical medieval city, how many shops would there be? And it gives me like a starting point, and then I can go and I can research it. So it's a way to get unstuck sometimes, or I'm just looking for ideas. So it's ideation. I also use it for writing aid, for your grammar things. That's AI. Looking for grammar, looking for spelling things. I run it through that. I do have it go through my copy editor then too. So I'm not just using that as the only thing. It's just it cleans it up. I send it off. Now I've also used AI, the Bing creator image. I have used that. So I'll run that so I can see what my characters look like. And then I can figure out how to describe them. Do I use that for any marketing purposes? No, that's for me. So I think AI is a tool. It's not meant to replace artists. I think artists are very important. I think authors are very important. Out of Blark, my other half was like, hey, I can't write stories. I'm like, oh, yes, I can. They're not very good, but yes, it can. And we were going somewhere. So I pulled up my phone and I said to the AI thing, the chat GPT, write me a story about Humpty Dumpty with a rocket ship. It was just off the top of my head. So it wrote a little story. There were some interesting ideas to it. It could have been developed and it might have been a really cool children's story. But in of itself, it was missing a whole lot. One of the things AI doesn't provide is doesn't have the soul.
Right. Emotion
The
and soul.
yeah, it's missing a huge thing. The author brings a story to life with their experiences, how they describe things, the voice, and a computer just can't do that.
Yeah, it's not there yet. It may not ever be there yet.
Yeah, I don't think it will ever be there unless computers get a human soul. And that would just be creepy. It would be an interesting story, wouldn't it?
Do your characters have a tendency to sometimes take you where you're not expecting to go?
Oh my God, yes. My 16-year-old protagonist, Anya, she is a very spontaneous firecracker. She'll say and she'll do just things off the top of her head. I think she's ADHD. I didn't mean to write her that way, but just reading her, I think she is. And there's times I'm writing and she'll do something, and I'm like, oh, Anya, really? And so I'll have to lean back and go, do I want to keep this or do I want to make her like do what I originally was thinking? And it's what she does is in character. If your character is doing something because that's what they were going to do, you either have to A, accept it and just go with it, or B, backtrack to where it went off the rails, put something in there to get them to do what it is that you originally wanted them to do. Because if you don't do either, it doesn't work. It feels canned. Good characters, they come off the page and they breathe. They're 3D. They're people in their own right. Yes, they are imaginary, but boy, did they come across pretty real.
Hey,
But
with the multi-world theory out there, who knows? We might be writing a real person's story in another universe.
I'm glad I found Anya. I like her. I like most of my characters. The Boggleman creeped me out when I first started writing him. I was like, oh, do I have to have this antagonist? It was like, no, he was the right antagonist. But it's like, oh, he is just creepy. And they say your characters are a part of you. I'm like, what part is this coming from?
Especially fantasy writers, they usually end up creating a world Bible so that they can keep their story straight. Do you have one in a program such as Scrivener? Do you have a cork board with cards? How do you approach that story Bible thing?
I started off with notebooks, but the problem with notebooks is you can't find what you need to find when you need to find it. And so I went with Excel spreadsheets, and they don't work so well because the cells are only so big, and if you have it rotate through, it looks ugly. So I tried Trello, and that worked. Then I found Notion. I love Notion. Seriously, love Notion. So all the stuff that I've been working on has been going into Notion. I probably have enough material to do my own version of the Silmarillion. I have a lot of backstory. After I'm done with this series, if I want, I could work on other series that are in different time frames of this particular book. It's a very rich world, a lot of history and stuff. And it's fun to create. I've been trying to do more of I'm not going down this particular rabbit hole. Let's just focus on what I need.
Okay, so Notion is a software, obviously, of some kind.
Yes, you can do it online. It's internet based app, and you can do free. There's a free version to it. I do a paid version. It gives you a little bit more bells and whistles, but you can make all kinds of different kinds of databases and wikis. You can go down so many different rabbit holes. It makes organization so easy. And then you can go over to the sidebar with the little magnifying glass, click on it and tell it what it is that you want to find. And it'll bring up all the pages that you have that particular thing in. So it's a lot easier to find what it is that you're looking for. with as many characters that I have and as many subplots as I have, I need to know who's doing what, when, why. When you have that many threads, it's hard to keep it all in here. Does it let you download? You can download some pages. I have a hard time downloading because I have a whole lot of sub pages inside of a page, and it wants to just download forever. So I have to find a way of just grabbing certain things off of it. I haven't played around with that a whole lot, but if you're not as verbose on it as I am, you can download. What I usually tell people on Apex, because I'm an admin there, is that there's no right or wrong way of doing things. It's what makes sense for you and your circumstances. I'm always interested in finding out how people do things, because staying organized with your research thing, oh my goodness, that is huge. Yes, it's so easy to fill things up with the research that we do. I have PDFs and I have pictures and stuff. Now with using Notion and a very good area for internet, I can do all the links and I can just click on the link and it takes me wherever I need to go. So for me, it worked. Do a lot of my fairy lore research using Gutenberg.
I imagine there's a lot of good stuff on there. You are young and you're just starting out. However, have you thought about what's going to happen to all this hard work after you're gone? Have you chosen somebody to take over the copyright? Have you talked to a lawyer or an estate planner or anything like that yet?
I have not, but it is on the docket. That is something that I have thought about, is what I'm going to do with my estate. And I think I want to see whether the kiddo wants to take over it, because he's a senior in high school. He started to write. Now, this is a kid that I had to convince him that books were wonderful things. Books are really cool. They're magical. They take you places. And I read to him every single night with the different chapter books and Rick Warden and Brandon and some of the classics and stuff, to the point where he wanted to read on his own too, which was like fantastic. Ground a kid, tell them they have to go to bed, and when you like peek in on them, they're sneaking reading. It's pretty cool. And then he actually decided that he wanted to write. Now, writing was really difficult for him. He's very much an ADHD kid, which is why I know that Anya probably is an ADHD kid. His writing is really good. It's more in the style of Douglas Adams, and he has impressed his English teachers too. So I told him that if he finishes the book that he does, if he wants to, that Summonser Press can publish his book. And if he has an interest in with writing and books and stuff like that, I think he would probably be the person that I'd want to pass that down to. His school actually had me on their list of speakers. They want me to come in to speak to them about being an author, an entrepreneur, and also marketing, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. And after I do this Kickstarter for myself, one of the things I would like to do, I need to talk to the school about it, is to see about doing an anthology for the high schoolers and have them submit the stories, but have a crew of kids actually be involved in the whole process from beginning to Kickstarter and out. I'm planning on talking to some of the school there, but they're happy with me. My book is in their library. I don't want my books to just end up being out of print and vanish.
Sage advice that you would like to share for new and up and coming authors thinking about getting into the phantasmic world of writing?
Yes. I would love to give some advice that I wish that somebody would have given me when I was a lot newer to them. So when you first start writing, you have some absolutely fantastic ideas, beautiful, exciting ideas, and that is awesome. Now it's the execution of getting things down, because when you start putting it down, it doesn't quite sound like it did in your head. Not that you might have the words in the head, but you have the pictures and the feelings and stuff like that. It's okay if it doesn't look perfect when you first get it down. In fact, it's not going to look perfect when you get it down, because that's not its job. Its job is just for you to get the story down, whether it is ugly or not. In fact, being ugly is perfectly acceptable. Your first draft, the only thing that it is required to do is to exist. Do your first draft. Do not do what I did, which was Start writing up to a point and going, I don't like it, and start at the beginning again and start writing a little bit further and then stop. And don't do that. Don't do that. Even if you feel compelled to do that, you can write notes to yourself of what you want to do. Okay, but keep going forward because after you get that whole first draft done, it's a lot easier to do the revision because the entire story. You can see where you need to like maybe work on plot, maybe work on plot holes, or at the very least, you'll have something in hand that you can talk to other writers of what you need to do to make it better. The other thing is writers write. So one of the pieces of advice that I got very early on, which made me laugh, was okay, so there's three pieces of advice for a writer. It's write and write, right? So keep writing. And if you feel discouraged, please know that you are in extremely good company. All of us feel discouraged sometimes. If you hear that voice in your head saying, this is no good, it's crappy, I can't do this, I'm no good, that is called a brain weasel. Okay. You want to take those brain weasels and you want to kick it to the curb. You can look in the face, you can point at it, and you say, you cannot talk to me like that, and just off to the curb. Okay. You're going to have enough obstacles in your way. Please don't get into your own way. We all do it. Okay. So don't get down on yourself if you get in your own way. Just recognize it, take a breath, and just write. Just write.
Very good advice. All right, Miss Tammy Burke, thank you so much for being part of Jolene's Books and Writers Talk podcast. Thank you for tuning in to today's episodes. If you enjoyed our conversation, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our podcast. It helps us bring you even more amazing content. And hey, if you're an author, narrator, publisher, entertainment lawyer, agent, or anyone working in the book industry, we'd love to hear from you. Head over to southerndragonpublishing.com and fill out our online form to connect with us. Let's keep building this incredible community together. Until next time, happy listening.